Our first guest is running for Congress in Florida's 3rd District. That's
yes,
your home
I am
state.
a proud Floridian.
Yeah.
I still have a Florida ID in my pocket.
Yeah.
I will never give that up.
Let's welcome Judson Sapp.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Welcome to the show.
So 3rd District of Florida.
Yes, it's a great little district in Florida, mixture of suburban and rural areas, right outside of a couple of the big cities. So it's a great area.
Between Gainesville and Tallahassee.
It's it's from the St. Johns River over to Ocala and the Gainesville area. So if you kind of just go straight across, you'll be able to find the whole district. It's a very large landmass.
Yeah, what do you think are some of the most important issues that your district is facing right now?
Well, like I said, we are a suburban rural area, and our biggest issue, I think, one of our biggest issues facing us is one of infrastructure and development. Anytime the areas around you are developing, people are going, hey, here's a nice county with great schools, but they might not have high-speed internet. So when you're trying to make a decision on where to move your family, and I'm a family man, and that was one of the decisions on where I chose my new neighborhood when I moved from one city to the next in the district, was the internet situation, because I do a lot of work remotely, and it's a big deal to us. And a lot of our even more rural communities, which are gorgeous communities with great people, if they could get that, they would be able to have more tax base move in and great citizens move in.
I am very familiar with your part of the state. I happen to agree with you. It is one of the most beautiful parts of Florida. It's the spring capital of the world. Not many people know that.
Where do you fly into?
Which
airport? Oh, Orlando. Okay.
Yeah. So, I think that a lot of rural areas are being left behind. Obviously, the suburbs of Gainesville are doing well, suburbs of Jacksonville, because they're attached to an urban area. What do you have to say for potential voters who are in these areas that, basically are in free-for-all economic decline all over the country, even in Florida?
Well, I think that one of the things you can do is look at who you elect. I have a background. I work in the rail industry. I run a railroad construction company. Transportation infrastructure is of vital importance to me. It's something that I do understand, and it's a committee that I want to get on in Congress, and that's how you get things done in Congress, is the committees that you're on. So I think it's important for when you're a voter to decide who you want to get behind. Obviously, in my district, we're all of us are pro-Trump, so you're going to get that, and then you have to start to look what changes. What differentiates us from other candidates.
Yeah, see, this is not your first rodeo, right?
You've run before.
Yeah, you've run before.
Yes, I did run for this office before, and I'm now it's an open seat. So there's
Eddie Yoho retired, right?
Congressman Yoho retired, and we wish him the best of luck and thank him for his service.
Yeah, what are you doing differently in terms of your campaign this time?
Well, I think that the difference was last time I was an unknown factor with the sitting incumbent, and now everybody has gotten a long time to get to know me, which is very hard to do from somebody who's not a career bureaucrat. We're going to have a lot of people jump into this race that have spent a lifetime in government, and I'm a business guy. It's for a person with business experience to get into a race, they almost have to find some way to get their name ID up beforehand, and that's what I did. And I knew the seat was going to come open because Congressman Yoho took the 8-and-out pledge and honored it. So here we are, and it looks really good for our future.
So a lot of people are heading to Florida. In fact, U-Haul just came out with the announcement that the #1 destination for people who rent a U-Haul truck is Florida. And as a Floridian, I know why they're doing that. But why do you think so many people are headed in our direction?
Well, one, it's beautiful, to the weather, but also, I think most importantly, it's our government. We have a profoundly conservative government that has conservative economic principles and low taxes. So people see that. We have no income tax, and they go, oh, that's a great place. I want to move there. And housing's affordable in many of the places that you'd want to live. As a result, though, unfortunately, a lot of people go from voting one way from New York, they move down to Florida, and then they continue to vote that way. So I always urge people in my communities to when you see somebody move in, say, hey, why did you leave? Maybe you shouldn't vote that way anymore.
What do you think about that, Julia?
I mean, that makes sense. I know I'm not moving to Florida anytime soon because my job.
Julia's a lifer. She's a New York lifer.
But I love the weather. If I ever go there, I would. If I ever stay there, if I ever get a house there, yeah, it would be because of the weather. It's just the most beautiful place.
It's cold for us when it drops below 70, so that's.
What do you think is important for Florida's future? Because, in terms of Florida, the #1 threats to us, really not your part of the state, because you're not on the coastal area, but rising sea levels is becoming a problem. We see that in Miami Beach. There's been a neighborhood underwater in Key Largo for I believe we're up to 100 days now. It's obviously something, and it's a fiscal issue because we have to adapt to, whatever's happening. What do you think Congress should do about that, especially because you'll be representing constituents from the state of Florida?
Well, I'm a big believer in state rights, and I believe that if you look at the 10th Amendment, what isn't in the Constitution is supposed to go back to the states. And so that's what I'm a fan of doing. And I believe decisions like that need to be made at the local level and at the state level. And quite frankly, Congress has their fingers in too many people's business.
Yeah, we've had quite a few candidates running for Congress, and actually we've interviewed presidential candidates on this show. And I asked this to everybody in your very seat: is if you get elected, what are some of the top things you will do for your voters? And we will hold you responsible because it's on tape.
Oh, no, I appreciate that. Well, first and foremost, I want to see our area get the proper infrastructure in place for development that we're going to see.
Infrastructure matters, of course.
Absolutely. And with the influx of new citizens, and of course, we're going to gain congressional seats, which means our population's expanding. We have to be ready for that. But from a congressional level, one of the things that I can do is work aggressively to reduce our deficit. We have to do that. And
I'm glad someone's mentioning that, because that's a major
it's a
issue
major
right now
issue.
in
It
Washington.
is.
It's a major
I've got a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old. The reason I'm running is for their future, because if we don't make changes now to our spending and our habits, it's not going to last long term.
I mean, Judson, if I were in your district, you have my vote, because to me that is the number one issue. I've been very open about this in op-eds that have been published all over the place. I feel like the structural deficit at the federal level is becoming a major, major problem.
Yes, absolutely.
And I congratulate you for taking that on. So where can we learn more about you?
You can go to judsonsapp.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Judson Sapp, and all the social media links are on the website, judsonsapp.com.
All right.
Awesome. Thank
Good
you so much
luck.
for taking the time and enjoy your stay here in New York.
Thank you. It was a pleasure being here.
Being here.